Hey everyone, I know you're very excited to start allocating some costs, but before we jump into the spreadsheets, let's look at the different kinds of costs we're going to be incorporating today. All right, so first we're going to have our direct costs, right? And you guys know direct costs. Usually, for us it was like direct labor, direct materials. This is a different kind of direct costs. These are it's the same concept. They can be directly tied to a certain department, okay? So if we have a bunch of different profit centers and cost centers, they're gonna have direct costs. A lot of times it'll be materials, labor. It could be overhead that we can trace directly to that department. Remember when we did the departmental overhead rate and each department had its own amount of overhead? That would be a direct cost within this concept, okay? But those are the ones that we say like, yeah, we know, for a grocery store and we've got, the dairy department, the grocery department, and the general merchandise department, we can say these costs belong to the grocery department. Then we have indirect costs. So indirect costs are gonna be things like our rent, our utilities. A lot of times these will be costs that don't have people associated with them, or at least in our example they will be. And these are gonna be shared, right? So again, for grocery store, if we have 30,000 square feet, the grocery department probably takes up about 22,000 of that. General merchandise is the next big one. That's like the greeting cards and the school supplies. And maybe they take up another, 8%, or 8,000, or that's going to be too much now. But anyway, ignore my math. And then the dairy department, they have their little section. The deli, they've got a section. The bakery, they have a section. But everyone's using a different part of that, of the square feet. So something like rent, maybe we would allocate by square feet. We might do the same thing with utilities. Okay, those are going to be our indirect costs. Then we're going to have our service costs. And our service costs are another kind of indirect cost that we've given a different name to, so we don't confuse ourselves, because indirect 1 and indirect 2 would be like too much. And our service costs usually have some sort of people involved, right? So it's like HR, right? HR, they have to do recruiting, they have to do hiring, they have to, they have to like talk to employees who break the rules or who are, harassing other workers, provide trainings. That all has a cost, right? Most of those costs are going to be people, but they may have some materials or they may have some who knows what. But those are usually going to be in cost centers, okay? So the direct cost is probably going to be everybody. So indirect costs, they're going to be their own cost centers, but then service costs, they're going to be their own cost centers too. So there's not going to be any revenue associated with them. So it's just going to be costs. And then the point of this is we're going to allocate all of these costs to our profit centers. Because at the end of the day, the only reason we have any of these costs is to make money, is to have a business to make money. And so we want to get all the costs, match them up to where the revenue is. That's a total misuse of the matching principle, but you can see how it kind of works in this example. Okay, so we're going to do this in a very specific way. We're going to start with our direct costs, which will just be given. We're going to allocate our indirect costs. And when we allocate our indirect costs, those are going to be allocated to our profit centers and to our service departments. Because if you think about it, the bookkeeper at the grocery store is taking up space, right? The, I don't know who else would be indirect in a cost center. Oh, the service booth people where you can go and turn in your lottery tickets and mail packages and stuff. They're a cost center. They're not making any money, but they are taking up space, okay? So we're going to allocate our indirect costs to our profit centers and our cost centers. And then we're going to go to our service cost centers and allocate all of those costs to the profit centers, okay? So if I had profit center and then a service center, these costs are going here, and then all of these costs are going up here. All right, hopefully that was helpful and not too super long. Let's head over to the computer and we're gonna do some examples, and I think it's gonna be good fun, so I can't wait to see you there.